Howdy folks. You know, for some strange reason I kind of feel like leading with a War Thunder video this week. Can't think why. Before we go any further, I feel like I really should make a rather embarrassing confession. We have a high tier jet battle for you on what I believe is the Korean map. And thanks to the flexible War Thunder replay system, which is way better than it was back when they first introduced it, we're going to be skipping through the perspectives of various different players in various different aircraft. G91s, F4 Phantoms, MiG-21s, you get the idea. Unfortunately, because the perspective does shift around so much in this battle, and because oh dear, there's always one, isn't there? But yes, because the perspective does shift around so much in this battle, and because I actually recorded it quite some time ago, this is really embarrassing, but I have to come clean. I can't actually remember which one of you sent this in. I mean, it could have been any one of half a dozen different players included in the battle. So I'm really sorry. I can't give you proper credit. I mean, you're going to be on screen at some point, but I just can't remember who you are. I'm sorry, I'm a bit crap like that. Nevertheless, if you do recognise this battle, and you are the one who sent it in, please let me know in the comments. I'll be sure to eventually at some point give you the correct credit. Well anyway, this really was an amazing battle to watch. Mostly because I was skipping around the perspective of various different players, starting with ARthuder here in the Italian G91. Still a very capable aircraft, although definitely no longer the star of the show since War Thunder introduced higher tier jet aircraft like the MiG-21, the F4 Phantom and the Hawker Hunter F6, which arguably has the best air-to-air missiles in the game, and other aircraft like that French thing over there, the ARthuder, has definitely been somewhat eclipsed in popularity. Its party piece used to be it would just rocket up to full throttle, head straight for the nearest base, drop its bombs and then zoom out and nothing would be able to catch it. Yeah, not so much anymore. It certainly can't outrun a missile. There is one hell of a furball happening down here at low altitude. But aircraft like these Phantoms are coming in on their attack runs so fast that they're only really staying inside shooting range for a couple of seconds at the most. And if you focus on trying to catch him and kill him, well, one, you're going to be disappointed unless he turns around on you, and two, you're probably setting yourself up for one of his wingmen to slip in on your arse and deliver an instant and extremely unwelcome dose of surprise butt sex. Caught the second Phantom just in time. So yeah, he's unlikely to get any shots in on either of those guys, but these fellas, maybe. Looks like he's going to merge with the Super Sabre. Got some shots off. Nope, nothing. Oh, somebody just slipped underneath him. It's an F4, he'll only have shots at him for a couple of seconds. Nope, not going to happen. Not quite sure what's going on with the kill counter at the bottom of the screen. Apparently, ARthuder here in the G91 already has a kill to his name. No. No, he doesn't. He hasn't actually hit anything yet. In fact, the kill that was credited to him was a ARthuder, but not the one that we saw earlier. It's one of the ones that we haven't even seen yet, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Yeah, a minute ago I was praising the War Thunder replay system. Actually, Jingles. Oh, MiG-17 on his ass. Saw him coming in time though. Some very nice manoeuvring and judicious use of the air brakes ensured that the MiG-17 overshot, although he might have overdone it a little bit. He's going to really struggle to catch up with him. Looks like the F-100 overshot as the MiG-17 was trying to brake. And there's now swapped positions. Swapped? Trying to say swapped and switched at the same time. It's a new word. He's now swapped positions with the F-100, although he is aware that ARthuder is on his ass, and it looks like he's broken clear, although shooting at that kind of range, no. Well, he's down, but ARthuder didn't get him. And now there's a MiG-21 coming in. Raldi 92. We're going to be seeing more of Raldi 92 in a moment. Luckily for ARthuder, Raldi's going after somebody else, but here comes another Super Sabre, who also has a MiG-17 on his arse, and there's just No shortage of aircraft to shoot at, unfortunately. They have an annoying habit of shooting back, so that ends ARthuder's adventure. However, the team are doing very well. Half of the enemy team have been shot down, and ARthuder's team have only lost 3 aircraft. So now we're switching to the perspective of one of the Phantoms. This is brown cubes. Most, if not all, of the Phantom pilots in this battle have decided, screw the missiles, they're going with the cannon pods. And I think that's a very wise choice, because the missiles, well, early versions of the Sidewinder, as represented here in War Thunder, can best be described as somewhat unreliable. And unlike with a cannon, you don't get a lot of shots. The cannon, however, is the gift that just keeps on giving. Okay, there are 3 friendlies on the tail of that F-86, so what's going on behind us? Oh, hello, you cheeky bugger. Enemy Phantom. Scare planes trying to slip in, unnoticed, and nearly getting away with it onto Brown Cubes' tail. Saw him at the last moment, took a bit of a clipped wing as punishment, but got away with it. Saw him just in time. Built up a nice little energy advantage here. If you can convert that into speed, and hell, he's in a Phantom, he can. As Scare Planes goes after the friendly MiG-17. And the MiG-17 is a fast aircraft, but the Phantom is a lot faster, particularly down here at sea level. Yes, alright, I know, it's not exactly sea level, but it's not 60,000 feet in altitude either, you know what I mean. I thought for a second there that the MiG-17 had managed to pull a successful scissors and force the enemy Phantom Scare Planes over there to overshoot. And he might have been in the process of pulling a scissors, but I think what actually happened was Scare Planes looked at how many aircraft were on him, thought, bugger that, hammered his afterburner open, and he's getting the hell out of there. Brown Cubes hosing him down with the gun pod, although highly optimistic at this kind of range. I think the gun pod is the overall better option for the Phantom, but this is exactly the kind of circumstance where a couple of Sidewinders would probably have been more useful. Because the gun does fire a lot of ammunition very quickly, but it's not terribly accurate, particularly at ranges like that. It's more of a scattergun approach. Looks like they've both gone supersonic, and there are a lot of aircraft queuing up to shoot down this poor enemy Phantom, who's probably just realised he's one of only 2 aircraft left alive on his team, along with Raldi in the MiG-21. I told you we'd be seeing more of this guy later, although I have wound the clock back to a moment when most of Raldi's and Scareplane's teammates hadn't actually been slaughtered like the helpless lambs that they are. Rowley's been staying fast and low altitude is not really the best environment for the MiG-21. It's capable of doing twice the speed of sound at high altitude. Down here, not so much. But it's still fast enough to stay on the tail of a Phantom, because the Phantom suffers from the same problem. And there's Rowley's first kill. And perhaps also a clue as to what exactly is going on with this replay system and who sent it in. Because I think that kill occurred at around about the same time that ARthuder in the G91 earlier was credited with a kill that he definitely didn't get. Perhaps Rowley is the guy who sent the replay in. I just wish I could remember. But it doesn't explain why he was on the enemy team at the start of the battle. Why he's still on the enemy team list now. And there I was singing the praises of War Thunder's replay system. I don't know. Well, Rowley has built up a lot of speed here, and he's actually catching up with the F4 above him. Although, yeah, with that much speed it's difficult to manoeuvre, although he has managed to stay on his tail. Although the enemy Phantom does now have the speed advantage, and is making full use of it, and this is a lot of enemy aircraft. And the MiG-21 does not have a large ammunition load. Good enough to score the second kill though. And then just power on out. Making sure there's nobody on his tail. Piling the speed on. Bunch of enemy aircraft ahead of him, although they're all very fast enemy aircraft. Checking no one behind him has a shot as he goes supersonic again. Oh, and he's just lost the only other teammate on this side of the map with him. There are now 5 enemies above him. Oh, yeah, that's not good. You might not want to engage those guys. You might want to just power on through and hope that they don't notice you. Which kind of seems to be working, at least for the moment. He's shedding teammates at an alarming rate, however, and he's got another Phantom in front of him. Can't have a lot of ammunition left. The MiG-21 does have a fairly powerful 23mm cannon, but an extremely limited ammunition load. At this point he may even be out of ammunition. I don't know, it's hard to tell. He's taken a very aggressive posture with that F4 above him, however, which suggests that he does have a couple of shots left. Time to start building up the speed again, which is not difficult to do in the MiG-21. In a nice shallow dive. Phantom above him doesn't appear to be interested. Unfortunately, it's at around about this point where Rowdy and Scareplanes find themselves the only two surviving members of their team. Heavily outnumbered and almost certainly low or out of ammunition, Rowdy is very fast running out of options. So how's he going to handle this? He's gotten himself some good altitude. And judging by the number of hostile aircraft on Scareplane's tail down there, I think we're about caught up with where we were earlier. So let's head back and see what's happening down at lower altitude. That noise you just heard was prokey down there going supersonic, blasting past Brown Cube's Phantom and zooming in on the tail of Scareplanes up ahead. Let's switch to prokey. I say he's zooming in on the tail of Scareplanes up ahead. I mean, he isn't. He's closing the distance very, very slowly. But he is closing the distance. And prokey has 3 cannon pods, not just 1. That's a lot more lead getting thrown down range, tripling the chance that some of it is going to hit the target. Scareplanes managed to make him overshoot, but that's just setting him up for an attack from Brown Cubes. Scareplanes has managed to make Brown Cubes overshoot as well. Prokey went high, looped over, setting himself for another attack run, and misses. Still retains the speed advantage here. Thinks about turning in, realises that Scareplanes is merging with him, decides it's a much better idea to retain that speed advantage, kicks open the afterburners, and just gets the hell out of there. Of course, every time Scareplanes is forced to manoeuvre to either turn to face a new threat or manoeuvre to avoid a new threat, he's bleeding off energy. And the 2 guys above him can pretty much keep doing this forever. Well, not forever, but there's every chance that one of them is going to hit him and kill him before they run out of ammunition. When you only have one teammate alive, there's not much chance anybody's going to come to your rescue, so continuing to fight on the defensive is a sucker's game. Scareplanes, however, has seen the opening that he needs to once again try to get some distance on his pursuers. Unfortunately, Scareplanes here started his escape burn at lower altitude than his 2 pursuers, who are both in the same aircraft, and since they're at higher altitude, can catch him. Meanwhile, Rowdy was out of ammunition and is heading back to the airfield to rearm and resupply, almost certainly very conscious of the fact that his lone surviving teammate is leading 2 extremely angry enemy fighters right towards him. And it's at this point where we get our first, and probably last, Jingles landing of 2019. So with 2 F4 Phantoms closing in, Rowdy now has to wait not only for the ground crew to resupply his aircraft with fuel and ammunition, but also to strap a pair of fresh wings on. Oh, this is going to be fun. Scareplanes knows that he can't land. They'll either shoot him down on final approach or they'll take him apart when he's on the runway, so he has to continue running. And if not for the fact that the 2 pursuing Phantoms were so focused on catching up and shooting down Scareplanes here, Rowdy would almost certainly have been a dead man. As it is, I have no doubt that Scareplanes is casting some very anxious glances in the direction of Rowdy's MiG-21, thinking to himself, you know, anytime you want to join in here is absolutely fine with me. And once again, they've managed to catch up with him, and he's forced to go defensive. And once again, oh, he's taken a hit. But is he down? No, he's not recovering from that. Well, Scareplanes led them on a merry chase. I think he did everything that he could reasonably have been expected to do. But let's face it, with 2 Phantoms on his tail, he was living on borrowed time. But he's given Rowdy the time that he needed to get airborne again. Now, Rowdy does not want to directly engage those 2 Phantoms. I mean, why would you voluntarily get into a fight where you're outnumbered 2-1? A fight where you're starting off at a lower speed and a lower altitude than your opponents. It's just asking to lose. So he's very smartly not doing that. And there's a reasonable chance that they don't actually know where Rowdy is anymore. They may have seen him on the airfield, but scare planes led them away from the airfield. And he managed to get airborne while they were finishing scare planes off. So even if they did see him on the landing strip and they've turned around to go and look for him, he's just not there anymore. So what's Rowdy's plan? Well, obviously it's not to fight the two Phantoms, although at some point he's going to have to. But the two Phantoms aren't the only two aircraft left flying on the enemy team. They also have a MiG-17, and the MiG-17 is a much easier target. It's not an easy target, but it's definitely an easier target than a pair of F4s. Ooh, and there he is. And there he goes. Rowdy isn't pursuing him. Why isn't Rowdy pursuing him? Well, a MiG-17 is an easier target than an F4 Phantom, if you're in a MiG-21. But there is one thing in this battle that's an even easier target than that, regardless of what aircraft you're flying. And that's an F4 Phantom when it's on the runway. Prokey using his remaining ammunition to help slow himself down. So he still has some ammunition left, although presumably not a lot, considering how much he was spraying at scare planes earlier. And, oh look, brown cubes, also on final approach for landing. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. The MiG-17, not on final approach to landing. Instead, shooting up the anti-aircraft defences on Rowdy's airbase. Rowdy has definitely been spotted. I do not understand how that MiG-17 did not see Rowdy as he passed within 3 kilometres of him, or perhaps he did see him, he just didn't care. Either way, that is going to be extremely bad news for these two F4 Phantoms. Brown Cubes on final approach has just realised that he's in the shit, narrowly avoids getting shot down. Rowdy thinking about going for Prokey, who is stuck on the runway with nowhere to go and nothing to do. Brown Cubes has managed to get himself on Rowdy's tail, but Rowdy has the clear speed advantage and is able to open up the distance. The question is, can Prokey get his repairs underway? And I believe he is moving. Oh, Rowdy, how could it all go so horribly wrong? Yep, he's managed to get airborne. Rowdy pulling a scissors and very narrowly avoiding a collision with Brown Cubes there. Trying to get into a position to take a shot. He desperately needs to narrow the odds. It's only going to be a couple of seconds before Prokey gets up here and joins the fight. In fact, where is Prokey? I don't see him. Oh, there he is. And that's not all. The MiG-17's about 2 minutes away from joining this fight as well, so Rowdy desperately needs to get a kill. Prokey opens up with 3 gun pods. Rowdy returns fire with a single 23mm cannon, and he's the one who gets the kill. So now it's Brown Cubes in the F4 Phantom 2 and Kozak 95 in the MiG-17 AS against Rowdy 92 in the MiG-21 F13. They're still pretty terrible odds, but they're not quite as bad as they were a few seconds ago. Brown Cubes way too far away to be an immediate threat. And remember, Prokey, who was just shot down, was the one who managed to land, rearm and refuel. And Prokey was armed with triple gun pods. Brown Cubes, who has not landed to rearm, only has 1. So he's probably low on ammunition. Well, judging by the almost 1,000 km/h speed that Brown Cubes was pulling as he flew over the airfield there, I think he was considering going for a landing, but decided at the last moment that it just wasn't worth the risk. And since at the time he was setting up for the landing he didn't know exactly where Rowdy was, well, he could have probably gotten away with it, but better safe than sorry. Meanwhile, Kozak in the MiG-17 attempts to merge with Rowdy's MiG-21, overshoots, deploys his air brakes to pull a turn. This, of course, does allow Rowdy to keep opening up the distance, as he wasn't bleeding any kind of speed away. But what Rowdy does not know, although he probably suspects, is whether or not Kozak has any missiles. Kozak does have missiles. Fortunately for Rowdy, they're Russian copies of the Sidewinder, and they're not particularly good. The A3S, or AA2 Atoll, to use their NATO reporting name, was a Sidewinder reverse engineered in Soviet service, and like the Sidewinder of this era, was best used at a range of no more than 1.5 kilometers from the target, not the almost 3 kilometers from which Kozak back there let one rip. Now, since he is armed with missiles, and he should have one more, Kozak is very much not to be underestimated. However, Rowley doesn't actually have to fight him. He is in the faster aircraft. He's just gone supersonic again. Rowley can keep opening the distance on Kozak's MiG-17 AS. He's not going to be able to put too much distance between them if Kozak continues the pursuit. But if Kozak is going to catch up, it'll be because Rowley has allowed him to. And I did start to wonder, Rowley, if you're not going to fight Kozak, where are you going? Because you're getting dangerously close to the enemy airfield's anti-aircraft defences. And it was at this moment where I got the answer to that question, and also the question, where the hell did brown cubes get to? Oh dear. Oh, well, that is kind of unfortunate, really, isn't it? 2 down, 1 to go. Tell me, Kozak, how confident are you feeling right now? Well, Kozak doesn't know it, but he actually should be feeling very confident, because Rowley is out of ammunition again. So all he can really do is run away. And, well, he's in the faster aircraft, so he can keep running away indefinitely, but running away doesn't win battles. Running away avoids battles. The thing is, though, Rowley 92 is not in a running away kind of mood, which is kind of ambitious because he is out of ammunition. And Kozak is definitely not out of ammunition. He should have at least 1 missile left, and even if he doesn't, he's still got a 37mm and a pair of 23mm cannons. So Rowley is, well, even if he had ammunition, he'd still be outgunned. So, Rowley, how are you going to win a gunfight if you don't have a gun? Well, he's got a couple of ideas. There's Kozak, climbing up to meet him. Rowley, helpfully turning on coloured smoke. It's just a sort of, oh yoo-hoo, here I am, come and get me. You've got to admire his confidence. Rowley does have a couple of options here. I mean, he has the speed advantage, so he can dictate where and when he gets into a fight. But what he could do is just lead Kozak all the way back to Rowley's own airfield and fly circles around it, leading Kozak around by the nose until the airfield's AA defences shoot him down. A couple of problems with that plan, however. First, that kind of works better against piston-engined aircraft that aren't as fast as jets. And also, remember we saw Kozak shooting up the base anti-aircraft defences earlier, so there might not be any base anti-aircraft guns left. And I think that may have been Rowley's plan, at least initially. I mean, it can't hurt to try, because he does lead Kozak back in the direction of Rowley's own airfield. But then Rowley runs into another issue, because the weather seems to have closed in a bit, and the cloud cover, well, bit of a good news, bad news situation. He's lost sight of Kozak, which means Kozak has also lost sight of him, but if there are any anti-aircraft guns left intact down there, they can't shoot at what they can't see either. So plan A, so far at least, not really working out so well. Alright, new plan, get some altitude, get some energy in the bank, then turn all of that energy into ludicrous speeds and go looking for a MiG-17. Oh, there he is. Now remember, Kozak doesn't know that large quantities of 23mm lead are not going to come flying in his direction. So he goes straight up and evades. Now, of course, he's going to attempt to turn the tables on Rowley, but his experience of that thus far against a faster aircraft like the MiG-21 has been that every time he brakes to avoid a manoeuvre or fails to successfully get a firing angle, Rowley is miles away by the time he can do anything about it. And Rowley isn't even using his afterburners at this point, and he's still going faster than 1,000 kilometers per hour. So put yourself in Kozak's position for a moment. You're chasing a faster aircraft, and Kozak might be low on ammunition as well. He has been using his guns, and the MiG-17 doesn't have a large ammo load in the first place either. So He is going to want to be going as fast as he possibly can, out of a dive if possible, in order to get as close as he possibly can to Rowley's MiG-21 to maximise his chances of actually scoring a kill with the ammunition that he has remaining. And the MiG-17 can actually go pretty damn fast. In fact, if you're in a high-speed dive and you're not careful about the number of G-forces that you're pulling, it'll go significantly faster than the airframe is actually capable of sustaining. And things like that will happen. And that, boys and girls, is how Rowley 92 finished this battle, despite the odds being stacked heavily against him, with 4 kills and a manoeuvre kill to his name. I hope you all enjoyed it, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.